There is an 11-year-old Toyota. The rear bumper has a small dent. The paint around the door handle has started to fade. It is parked in the middle of a row of brand-new, polished cars that cost several times more. The cars beside it have larger screens, more powerful engines, newer interiors, and most of them are still being paid off every month. The man stepping out of the old Toyota is wearing an ordinary shirt, a pair of shoes with no visible logo, and a watch no one would look at twice. No one turns around. No one gets curious. No one thinks he is wealthy. But the truth is, he owns $4.7 million in index funds. His home is fully paid off. He has no consumer debt. He could stop working tomorrow, and his life would continue to run normally for many years. Meanwhile, the person driving the brand-new car parked next to him may be working overtime to pay for the very car other people admire. That is the difference between being wealthy and looking wealthy. One person is building freedom. The other is building an image. One person uses money to escape other people's control. The other uses money to earn other people's approval. I used to think wealth had to be visible. The house had to be big. The car had to be expensive. The watch had to be impressive. The clothes had to make sure everyone knew which brand I was wearing. But the more I observed people who were truly wealthy, the more I discovered an uncomfortable truth. The harder someone tries to look rich, the less real wealth they may actually have. And the people who truly own assets often feel no need to perform for anyone. They do not need to impress you. They only need their lives to stop being controlled by money. They do not need a house that makes the neighbors jealous. They need a house that will not destroy them financially if they lose their job. They do not need a car that gets attention from coworkers. They need a car that does not damage their cash flow. Real wealth is not found in what you can show off. It is found in what you no longer have to fear. You are not afraid of losing your job. You are not afraid of an unexpected bill. You are not afraid of the market falling. You are not afraid of being underestimated. You are not afraid of saying yes to things you hate just because you need the money. And today, I want to share the 3 pillars behind the art of quiet wealth. These are not overnight wealth tricks. They are not empty pieces of advice like, just save more money. They are the ways quietly wealthy people think, control their emotions, protect their assets, and value their time. Once you understand these 3 pillars, the way you see money will change completely. The first thing I noticed about quietly wealthy people is how calmly they talk about money. They are not overly excited. They are not overly afraid. They do not brag. They do not feel inferior. They talk about a major expense as if they are reading the specifications of a machine. The roof needs $12,000 in repairs. Fine. How long will it last after the repair? What happens if we delay it? What options are available? What warranty comes with the work? They do not turn it into a tragedy. They also do not turn it into an opportunity to prove that they have money. To them, money is data. It is not identity. It is not self-worth. It is not a stage. That is something many people cannot do. When they earn a little more, they feel they have to buy something to prove they are moving up. When someone else buys a new car, their own car suddenly feels embarrassing. When friends post luxury vacations, their own life suddenly feels inferior. And that is how money stops being a tool for building a life. It becomes a tool for treating emotions. They feel sad, so they buy something. They feel insecure, so they buy something. They feel stressed, so they buy something. They want approval, so they buy something. Then the things they bought create a new kind of pressure, the pressure of debt, the pressure of maintaining an image, the pressure of earning more just to support a lifestyle they never truly needed. Quietly, wealthy people do the opposite. They create distance between desire and action. I call this the 24-hour, 7-day, and 30-day rule. For small, unnecessary purchases, they wait 24 hours. For more expensive purchases, they wait 7 days. For major purchases that could change their cash flow, they wait 30 days. This waiting period is not about punishing yourself. It is about checking whether the desire is real or merely emotional. Many things you think you need today become meaningless 3 days later. A new pair of headphones, a new phone, un item sale, a course you buy because you are afraid of missing out, a new car you want only because your coworker just upgraded. Desire can be very loud, but real need is usually calm. Quietly wealthy people do not ask, "Can I afford to buy this?" They ask, "Is this worth trading away part of my freedom?" That is a completely different question, because being able to buy something does not mean you should buy it. You may be able to afford the down payment, but perhaps you cannot afford the maintenance. You may be able to handle the monthly payment, but perhaps you cannot survive 6 months without income. You may be able to own the item, but you may not be able to stop the item from owning your life. I also noticed that quietly wealthy people are almost immune to lifestyle inflation. Their income rises, but their cost of living does not rise at the same speed. The neighbor buys a new car, but they keep driving the old one. A coworker moves into a larger house, but they stay in the house that fits their needs. Friends post expensive vacations, but they continue following their financial plan. It is not because they dislike beautiful things. It is not because they live in misery. It is because they understand something very clearly. If your standard of living constantly depends on what someone else just bought, you will never feel wealthy enough. There will always be someone with a better car, a bigger house, a more expensive watch, a more exotic vacation. You cannot win that race, because the finish line keeps moving. Wealth begins when you define enough for yourself. What kind of house is enough? What kind of car is enough? What level of spending is enough? How much control over your time is enough? If you do not define it, the market will define it for you. Social media will define it for you. Your neighbors will define it for you. And the crowd will sell you an extremely expensive life that never truly belonged to you. The second pillar is something most people do not enjoy hearing. Sustainable wealth is usually extremely boring. There are no fireworks. There is no feeling of winning big every day. There are no dramatic profit screenshots. It is a steady, repetitive, almost invisible system. Quietly, wealthy people do not depend on willpower every month. They depend on systems. When their salary arrives, investment money is transferred automatically. When they receive a bonus, part of it disappears into investments before they get a chance to spend it. When their income rises, they do not immediately upgrade every part of their lifestyle. They keep the old spending pipeline in place. For example, if their monthly income increases by 20 million dong, they do not treat the entire 20 million as spendable money. They may automatically transfer 50% or 10 million dong into an investment account as soon as the money arrives. Only then do they decide what to do with the rest. Why does this work? Because money you do not see is harder to spend. Money sitting in a checking account creates the illusion that you have plenty. Then comes a more expensive meal, a new purchase, a trip, a new subscription, a monthly payment. Each one looks harmless on its own, but together, they consume the entire income increase. You earn more, but you do not become wealthier. You simply live more expensively. Quietly wealthy people understand that assets must grow before lifestyle has time to expand. They pay their future first. The present receives whatever remains. That is why they pay close attention to expenses no one else can see. A skilled accountant, a trustworthy lawyer, liability insurance, health insurance, account security, estate planning, emergency reserves, legal structures that protect assets. None of these things earn them more likes on social media. No one is impressed when you buy strong insurance coverage. No one asks to take a picture with you because you hired a good accountant. No one envies your 18-month emergency fund. But when something goes wrong, those invisible protections are what stop your life from collapsing. An expensive watch may make you look wealthier. A strong asset protection system may keep you wealthy longer. Those are two very different things. People who do not understand money prioritize visible expenses. People who understand money prioritize protective expenses. That is also why they react differently when markets become volatile. Imagine the market falling sharply in a single day. The news is filled with warnings. Social media is flooded with panic. One person sells everything. Another announces that the entire financial system is about to collapse. Meanwhile, a quietly wealthy person is still in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, cooking dinner, and talking with family as if nothing unusual has happened. It is not because they are unaware. It is because they are not investing for today. They are investing for the next 20 years. They have emergency savings. They are not investing next month's rent in risky assets. They are not over-leveraged. They do not need to sell in panic just to survive. Their calm does not come from being better at predicting the market. It comes from building a financial structure that does not require panic. That is a major difference. Many people try to learn how to control their emotions while investing. Quietly wealthy people design their lives so emotions have fewer chances to destroy their decisions. They do not put themselves in a position where they must sell. They do not put themselves in a position where they must borrow. They do not create a life where one emergency can break everything. Their assets are protected by a margin of safety, and that margin is built during years no one notices. The times they did not upgrade their phone, the times they did not replace the car, the automatic transfers, the months they kept investing while the market was boring, the decisions that looked small but were repeated hundreds of times. Do not wait for one brilliant decision to make you rich. Most large fortunes are built from correct but boring behaviors repeated for a long enough period of time. Weak people always need motivation. Disciplined people only need a system. That is why one person follows the plan for 3 months and quits. The other follows it quietly for 20 years. The third pillar completely changed the way I see spending. Quietly, wealthy people do not only ask how much money something costs, they ask how much time it consumes. Something can be cheap in money but extremely expensive in time. On the other hand, a service may appear expensive but return dozens of hours of freedom every month. For example, they are willing to pay for delivery instead of spending 2 hours traveling. They hire someone to maintain the yard if the task consumes an entire weekend. They hire a financial professional if doing everything alone costs days of research, stress, and potentially bad decisions. They do not see every outsourced task as wasteful. They see it as buying back time. Of course, this does not mean hiring someone for everything. The important point is knowing the value of 1 hour of your life. Suppose you spend 4 hours every week on a task that could be outsourced at a reasonable cost. 4 hours a week becomes more than 200 hours a year. That is more than 8 full days of your life. If hiring someone gives you more time for family, health, or higher value work, then the money is not simply an expense. It is a trade, money in exchange for life. Quietly wealthy people are very clear about this. They are not blindly cheap. They save aggressively on things that do not matter so they can spend generously on things that do. They may use the same phone for years, but they may pay for a more convenient flight to avoid losing an entire day. They may wear simple clothes, but they will spend on health. They may drive an old car, but they will pay an expert to prevent a major legal or financial mistake. That is not a contradiction. That is priority. Another principle I find powerful is this: think carefully about small purchases, but decide quickly on major necessities. It sounds backward. Why spend time choosing a small item but act quickly on a major expense? Because careful thinking about small purchases builds discipline. You learn not to buy impulsively. You learn to check quality. You learn to resist temporary emotion. But with major essential costs, delay can become more expensive than action. The roof is leaking. You delay because you do not want to spend the money. 3 months later, the leak damages the ceiling, walls, electrical system, and furniture. The original repair may have cost 50 million dong. But because you delayed, the total damage may multiply. The same applies to health problems. The same applies to legal contracts. The same applies to failures inside a business. People with poor financial thinking usually do the opposite. They make extremely fast decisions about exciting purchases, but they endlessly delay important matters. They buy a new phone in 20 minutes, but postpone a health checkup for 2 years. They book a vacation because it is on sale, but delay building an emergency fund. They put a deposit on a car after one test drive, but spend 6 months refusing to buy necessary insurance. Quietly, wealthy people do not optimize for emotion. They optimize for consequences. They ask, if I do not deal with this today, what will it cost me 1 year from now? That question helps them decide quickly on important issues. Because they understand that the cost of delay is often invisible today but extremely expensive tomorrow. That is why time and decision-making are closely connected. A person can earn a great deal of money and still lack freedom if every hour is consumed by low-value tasks. A person can own substantial assets and still live anxiously if important decisions are constantly delayed. Wealth is not only the balance in your account, it is also the ability to control your schedule, the ability to decide quickly when necessary, the ability to ignore what does not matter, the ability to spend time with the people you love, the ability to wake up without being crushed by a list of meaningless obligations. But I also have to be honest. Being quietly wealthy is not always comfortable. It can create a strange distance between you and the people around you. They may not understand why you refuse to buy a new car even though your income has increased. They may not understand why you turned down an expensive trip. They may not understand why you still live in the same house. They may not understand why you never discuss your investments. They may not understand why you do not show your revenue, and sometimes they will invent a story about you. They may think you are cheap. They may think you are unsuccessful. They may think you do not know how to enjoy life. They may think you are falling behind. But you must accept one thing. Financial freedom sometimes comes with privacy. You cannot live by your own principles and still demand that everyone understands you. You do not need to convince them. You do not need to show them your accounts. You do not need to prove you could afford the car. You do not need to explain that your home is fully paid off. You do not need to reveal your investment portfolio. The moment you need someone else to confirm that you are wealthy, you have handed them control over your emotions. Quiet wealth means knowing where you stand without needing the world to applaud. You know you have emergency reserves. You know your assets are growing. You know your debt is shrinking. You know your time is slowly becoming your own. You know that every year, you gain more choices. That is enough. Someone else may drive a more impressive car, but you sleep better. Someone else may live in a larger house, but you are not afraid of losing your job. Someone else may receive more admiration, but you can leave a toxic environment without asking permission. That is the true power of money. Not the ability to buy everything, but the ability to reject what you do not want, the right to say no to a terrible boss, the right to rest when your body is warning you, the right to care for your family when they need you, the right to stop selling your time at any price. In the end, the art of quiet wealth is built on 3 pillars. First, manage emotion through principles. Do not let money become a tool for treating insecurity. Do not use shopping to prove your worth. Turn financial decisions into data, rules, and clear specifications. Second, automate and protect your assets. Do not focus only on what other people can see. Invest in invisible layers of protection. Emergency savings, insurance, investment systems, knowledge, professionals, discipline. Third, value your time and optimize your decisions. Save money on things that do not matter. But do not be cheap with your time, your health, or decisions that shape your future. You do not need to suffer in order to become wealthy. You simply need to stop living to impress people who will never be responsible for your future. The 11-year-old Toyota may not make anyone turn their head, but the person inside knows that the bank does not own him. His job does not own him. Other people's opinions do not own him. And that is something many luxury car owners still do not have. You do not need anyone to witness your wealth in order for it to be real. Freedom needs no logo. Peace needs no likes. Real assets need no applause. Build quietly. Invest quietly. Protect your time quietly. Step away quietly from the race you never wanted to enter. And one day, you will realize that you no longer need to prove anything. That is the moment you become truly wealthy.